Welcome back to the Kosi Arsenal channel. My name is Kosi. Welcome back to a brand new video. Mbuemo is 100% willing to join Arsenal this summer if the two clubs, Arsenal and Brentford, can agree on a fee. There is confirmation that Arsenal have 100% the players' consent to go and agree a deal with Brentford. But the big question, how much are Brentford going to ask for the services of Mbuemo? He's had a very good campaign, 19 goals this campaign. Can Arsenal agree a deal to sign Mbuemo? We'll be discussing that and more. Of course, we'll be talking about Nico Williams. Jean Laporta, the president at Barcelona, has confirmed that Barca are not really going to sign Nico Williams this summer because they don't want him. They're no longer looking at him. They wanted him last summer, but this summer they're looking at other targets. They have actually moved on. So why are they moving on? Is it in terms of the quality of the player? Are they skeptical about his ceiling? Or is it the price? Is it the competition from Arsenal? I will let you know on that one. We are also going to be talking about Leandro Trasad, as Hands of Ozil have actually confirmed that Leandro Trasad is one of the players whose sure deal could still leave Arsenal this summer. Now, Barca has already initiated talks with Leandro Trasad, but a couple of offers from Saudi Arabia are still, shaking the player's table. If he decides to go to Saudi, Arsenal won't stand in his way. But if Arsenal get a good offer, they might sell Leandro Trasad as well. Hit that button, subscribe to the channel as well. What are you thinking about Mbuemo? It's one of the deals that are actually catching up, up and down in the last few hours. Mbuemo to Arsenal. Is it a deal that you love to see? Is it a deal that improves our attacking prowess, improves our attacking options? Because that is the reason why we are going to invest money in this summer, to improve our attacking options. So is Mbuemo a player that improves Arsenal's attack? Let me know in the comment box below. So according to Team News Antics, Arsenal are progressing on a deal to sign Mbuemo. It's a story that actually broke about 72 hours ago, and it is one that is slowly but surely developing into a very serious story. At first we thought, well, it's one of those links that are just coming out and it will die down. Well, it is a story that is not dying down. Mbuemo to Arsenal is progressing seriously. Arsenal now have the green light from the player. He's already agreed he can join the project and join the club if the two clubs can agree a deal, and personal terms are not going to be a problem. The club are willing to settle down and sit down with Mbuemo and his camp to agree on a fee in terms of the salary and also bonuses. But at the moment, he's earning about 45k at Brentford. I just scratched my head and I was like, is he really earning this little at Brentford at the moment? Of course, this makes the deal for Arsenal on the player side a little bit easier. First and foremost, we've got the pull and we've got the the attractiveness to attract a player like Mbuemo. Honestly, even if Arsenal are not that attractive, we can still attract a player like Mbuemo. So first and foremost, Arsenal are in the Champions League. Mbuemo would love to play in the Champions League, but Arsenal are also going to be fighting for silverware, and this is a fact that has been publicly made to all players. And I think, listen, if you're a player out there and you look at this Arsenal project with the likes of Declan Rice, 100 million, with the likes of Bukayo Saka, one of the best wingers in the world, with the likes of Saliba and Gabriel, the best defense in the Premier League, and they're also promising to invest once again this summer, you would be crazy if you don't want to play for Arsenal right now. You would be absolutely crazy if you don't want to be part of this team. So 100%, many players want to be part of this team. Like Mikel Arteta said, at the moment, we have talked to many players and we are positive a lot of them want to join the project. Mbuemo is definitely one of those. Now, there's a very, very big question when it comes to Mbuemo. Yes, personal terms are not going to be a problem. Yes, Arsenal can sign him. But what about the price, right? Can Arsenal really lure him away from Brentford, and can a price be agreed between the two clubs amicably and easily? The answer is yes, but a little bit complicated, right? So when you think about Arsenal and Brentford, we have a very good working relationship between the two clubs. Last summer, we signed David Raya permanently from Brentford. But you remember that Arsenal had got David Raya in the summer of 2023 on loan initially because we didn't have enough money in the account to actually do the deal. And Mikel Arteta wanted to sign David Raya there and then. He wanted the goalkeeper to come in 2023. So what Brentford did for us, they allowed us to sign the player on loan initially, but then they said, you can give us our money in 2024. And that's what Arsenal did. And it was a very, very kind gesture from Brentford, because anyone could have given them 27 million. There's so many clubs out there that were willing to sign David Raya that summer. Chelsea wanted a GK, Arsenal of course wanted a GK, and a couple of other clubs. I think Liverpool as well wanted a GK, and then they ended up signing Mamadashvili after the Euros. So I mean, Raya is such a good goalkeeper that any club would have been dying to give Brentford money right there. But they listened to Arsenal and they trusted us, and we have been grateful. We respected them as well, and we didn't try to do any kind of dirty deal against them. So that working relationship could actually turn into a Brian Mbuemo deal. It could actually turn over to the Brian Mbuemo chapter. The market value of the player is 50 million euros, but that is, I've noticed something. If a player is African and he scores 20 goals in the Premier League, all of a sudden, his market value is about 50 million euros, right? But if you check Cole Palmer's market value right now, he's going to be in 70 million euros, 80 million euros, right? So I think Brian Mbuemo is worth more 50 million euros, and Brentford will be looking to get more than 50 million euros, given the fact that the player has had a very, very fantastic campaign. I mean, we are talking 20 goals in the Premier League. When was the last time an Arsenal player scored 20 goals in the Premier League? When was the last time? Like, just the Premier League. A very long time ago. That could have been Aubameyang or Sanchez or Robin van Persie. So that tells you and that shows you the level and the quality of a player like Brian Mbuemo. But for me, if Brentford are going to accept about 50 million euros, that is an absolute steal. I still don't know how I feel about the Brian Mbuemo deal. I still don't know. I am not sure how I feel about Arsenal signing Brian Mbuemo. On one hand, especially with my heart, I'm like, let's go do the deal. It's a good market opportunity. It might work out. With my head, and I'm looking at those numbers, I'm like, but we could do better, right? We could do better. And that's what my head says. We could do better. And this is a summer where I think Arsenal need to go to sign players using our heads, not our hearts. We have signed players with our hearts before, Nuno Tavares, Lokonga, and things haven't turned out very well. But if you use your head and you look at a Julian Timber and you look at his numbers and you sign him, things are actually going to be much better. Okay? So I think a deal can be agreed. This can be one of the early deals for the summer. I hope Arsenal can go and get the deal done. Now, the Barcelona president, Joan Laporta, has been talking about Nico Williams and his deal to Barcelona. And he said, I love presidents in Spain. They come out and speak openly about transfers. So the president has said, Nico Williams is a deal that we wanted to do last summer alongside Dani Olmo. However, this summer, Barcelona are not interested. They are not there. They are not going to sign Nico Williams. So Arsenal have a free ride. You can go and get your man. And of course, that is positive because the two stumbling blocks to Nico Williams not joining Arsenal this summer were, one, Barcelona. I mean, he wanted to play alongside Lamine Yamal, and Barca wanted to do everything to make the deal happen. But I think the rise in quality of Rafinha and Rafinha working well under Hansi Flick has just made sure that Barca don't need Nico Williams. Actually, if Arsenal had a player like Rafinha as well, we wouldn't need Nico Williams. If Martinelli or Trossard was playing at the level of Rafinha, we wouldn't need Nico Williams at the moment. The other reason was the player wanted to give himself one more year to see whether he can join Barca in the summer or just to develop much better and represent with Bilbao on Europe, which he has actually done very, very well until the semi-finals of the Europa League. So the question for me here is why are Barca pulling away from a deal that they were desperate to do? Barca were willing to give Atletico Bilbao 70 million euros for this guy, right? His release clause last summer was about 55 million euros, and the Barca were willing to pay 15 million euros more. Why are they backing down? Like I said, you have the Rafinha, justification. But then, of course, I also think that Barca have other areas to reinforce. They need a center forward, they need midfielders, they need a defense. They're like, no, we are not going to sign a new winger. Let's look elsewhere. In terms of the quality, he has scored 5 goals this season in La Liga and assisted 5 times, but he has also scored 5 goals for Bilbao in the Europa League. So could Atletico Bilbao's, could Nico Williams' form this season have a decision, have a part to play in Barcelona's decision? Maybe, but a couple of other clubs are still interested. Arsenal are still there. I don't think he's had a bad season. I mean, 10 goals in all competitions for a winger and 5 assists in the league. He needs to raise his level because those are numbers that Arsenal can do with a Gabriel Martinelli. Martinelli can give us those numbers 100%. So we've got to do a little bit better, and he's got to do a little bit better. But if Nico Williams was to come in, then one has to leave. We know that. Leandro Trasad, according to Hans of Ozil, could be the one. Now, Leandro Trasad is one of the players that might leave Arsenal this summer, as his future is still under speculation. Arsenal under Andre Bata have already opened talks with Leandro Trasad for a new deal, but there is no guarantee that he's actually going to sign it, and there is no guarantee that he's actually going to stay. He's got offers from Saudi Arabia, and Arsenal will not stand in his way if Saudi Arabia actually come in for him, and Arsenal will also sell him if a very good offer comes in. I think Arsenal are really trying to show Leandro Trasad, we love you, we appreciate the services, but we want to keep Gabriel Martinelli. And I think it is a smart decision, honestly, because when you think about Leandro Trasad, and I know Trasad is the effective one. He comes onto games, scores goals, he comes into games and impacts them, but for how long? Martinelli is about 22, 23, so you can have him for the next 5 years, 6 years. And competition between Martinelli and a new winger would actually make more sense than Leandro Trasad and a new winger, because 2 years later we would be saying sign another left winger. We need competition for either Nico Williams or we need competition for the winger that we shall be having on the left hand side. So Arsenal may be prioritizing right now to keep Martinelli over Leandro Trasad. I don't see a problem with that if Arsenal and Mikel Arteta absolutely believe in it. Now, Julian Timber is undergoing another injury, and he's going to undergo another surgery, but this time it is not an ACL surgery. It is actually an ankle surgery, and that I think is that is positive, right? Because when we saw that he's gonna go undergo surgery, we were like, oh no, it's the ACL again, isn't it? It's the knee. It's not a problem with his knee, it's a problem with his ankle. And I tell you, Ben White spoke about this. He said, for Julian Timber to come back from an ACL injury, we signed Julian Timber in the 2022-23 summer, right? Was it the 23 summer? Yeah, it was the 23 summer. For us to bring in Julian Timber and for him to have the season that he has actually had after a whole year of suffering from an ACL injury, that has been absolutely impeccable. He's played almost every game. He's been very, very relentless. He's been very, very quality and consistent. I look at players like Julian Timber and I'm like, this is where Arsenal should have won something, right? Because they have bled energy onto fields this season. They have bled energy onto away pitches, onto the home turf, and they end up with nothing. They absolutely end up with nothing. But we hope that it's going to be okay. Is he going to join us for preseason? He should be able to, but we don't know the extent of the injury, and we don't know how long the doctors are going to say he should be resting, right? So as soon as Julian Timber comes back from that surgery, I am going to let you know 100% for sure. And lastly, Arsenal have confirmed to young man Max Downman that is going to be part of the first team this summer, and is also going to be part of the preseason tour as well. Max Downman is one of the players that everyone is talking about. And I'm surprised, I'm really, really surprised that at a time where Martin Odegaard has been a little bit down, and we have had injuries as well, it's only been Ethan Nwaneri and Marlo Scully that Arteta's given a massive chance. Max Downman is another player that everyone is actually talking about. But of course, Arsenal have called him for pre-season. That means next season, he's going to be a very important player for